Rotary Club. Yeah.
I'm very bad.
Air conditioner invoice.
Oh. Amanda, did you leave your phone? Oh.
I got cool on there. I lost a password. Like that.
Figure it out.
No, I think I was leaving. I ain't new place to or. We have another tournament one today, or this must be a slow for.
Oh, that.
It's not a bad day.
Yeah, we can. Sheriff and eating. Good morning, like a promotion, you know means.
They have music out on the patio.
Isn't it? Cause Steve more.
There's a 10 in there.
You need more, I've got.
I have your diet.
Every day. They have that in any program.
Well, I'm not sure. I'm sure it's every Friday. I think.
And so I'm just back.
Brain block.
Serving. Run meals and meals.
Well, that's what the council wants it to go.
I think they were on the ragged edge of
Yeah,
profitability.
Yeah.
Before this.
you're right.
It was the main thing, you know, they had like a half a dozen things that they.
Yeah, they didn't have enough to feed their shoes for them.
Yeah.
Pretty full in terms of reservations and stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Right. They're,
I guess it's the fun. I'm hard. Well, especially then I think all.
Yankee treasures probably.
Eric's got change.
you too. Yeah, that's what Leo from there. Jeez.
I went down there.
One night, Friday night, over it.
And the.
Packed was. Yeah, it's right.
Well, you know, if you've got the station for the then falling short, it's like, you know, if you don't have one or the other, then that.
How are you?
You want a good
You
deal?
are.
Yes, for the right card. I am. Have you?
Okay, you're on the team, that's the one in. Even golf club. Talking about golf clubs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to ball there.
Yeah. Yeah,
A little bit now.
Yeah, I know the solar place, but they've got.
We're getting on here. In there. Accommodations.
I don't think.
It's kind of an apple of dollar.
It's not now. We were there the other day. Practically full.
Yeah.
Well, how do you get there? I don't
They plug it into GPS and they.
Well, I see.
Well,
So when does he? Oh, fast traffic. Turn right. Just. Take you right to.
You ever golf there?
Used to.
Yeah, they're 18 and no goal, where you could just warm me up. Cause you had a good game going into the 18th.
Build that ditch with ball.
It's on the trail.
Yeah.
Give that to you.
They have a great list there.
Bowman gave it his place where he was scheduled.
Very good.
The brand that was.
Not yet, not yet.
That's why I gave the daughter.
It's time.
Blind. No, I'm gonna meet for the end right here. No. Research.
Out there. Thank you.
Long time to do that.
We're now. The struggles on watching. There's that goes on backwards. Thank you.
Probably close the city for burning too much.
No. Oh, I see. I'm sorry. I think. I'm just not a Disney. We're gonna have by line. You know, I heard the sales.
Thank you, sir.
$100 bill, so I want free tickets.
Oh, my God.
Later, what?
Oh, yeah, I was just gonna say, oh, boy. How's your day going today? Yeah. Yeah, I thought I was.
I'm not thinking now. You should go with the airline. I'm sitting in the airline. I know the way to buy it.
Well, he looked at change. I thought I know the stranger.
Good far away.
Yeah. Did you find out?
Well, he took on the Democratic, the chair of the Green County. She's from Fairborn. She started doing on independence.
No.
He kind of jumped her, but they had legislative directors for career centers. Nothing is in final. 6 of
Good. Long time. Welcome back. You as well. You as well.
Yeah, very.
How do you do with her? I don't know.
We're down to size. He pointed out that it's so bad. The problem is Democrat. Require the constitutional minimum to have 60%. Because it's a serious thing. Start out on that. And, historically, states that have, like I mentioned here, I think that's states have had 100, 200, 300. It's easy, wherever you introduce the well, slap into the room. Get them up to 60. What's going to really nice.
I'd say that take care of that building is she's like, well, open house. With the students standing. With a new trainer. Going by. Remember?
Everybody's later 4 hours.
Thank you. When'd you get the trucks on? You got truck on. The top orders. Yeah, for some reason I don't think you have it. Yeah, you're work fine. Well. I think we can solve whatever this is. Yeah, you never know. They're as old as I am, man. Oh, bad? Talking about her, I don't know. Something too well in the winter time when we were slow. That's her. I know enough to be dangerous now. Oh, yeah. So I started asking her these questions.
My grandson, my mentor, they were the best to take.
Everything has answered though.
Wow. Kansas City.
What?
Yeah, technology, something that's like.
It's still
what it meant. Two of them,
Yeah.
he said 46 and training.
It's automatic feed. And it keep going.
Wow.
And it feeds itself. Well, you really need to get steady. Big mind.
That's what she
Smooth girl. And she'll start out making.
changes as.
$30 for
I'll start on top. We're gonna go over action. Oh, the college, you are nervous with your parents. I've got somebody others. I'm looking at insurance, and it's like you're on something like, it's like, wow. You just swear that that's outside.
Well, then they got motion, so they turn or.
Talking about meetings, welders and
In Denver yesterday.
the oil country. And they put together these big units. A couple of times. You come and stay for whatever period of time that you want to, and then you went back.
Oh. 20 years ago, Saudi Arabia. Exact that 20 years ago. $100,000. Cash. But your room and board, everything was free. It was a bar service. So you ended up with $100,000. And I tried to get you out of order. Flush. And you didn't know anything about that. 8-day return to exchange. Yeah. When you got a 4-day trip to Europe or wherever you were.
Those programs are still on.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the June 16th, 2023 meeting of the Rotary Club of Beavercreek. I'm Mike Canada, and this is what happens when you miss a bunch of meetings. I'm head host, and Brendan's getting a head start on missing meetings because obviously he's not here. I'd like to thank our greeters, the O'Shaughnessy's. Thank you for greeting today. Eric Marcus, our ticket master and secretary, I believe. Double duty, Pete Bales, Mark Weinstein, Mike Zwick, for the great programs, and Jim Gundel for the website. So I'd like to invite Denny to give the invocation.
Well, good afternoon. Could you please join me in prayer? For friends, for food, fun, and fellowship, especially the fellowship of Rotary, we give our sincere thanks. Many of these tokens of your bounty nourish our physical bodies in preparation for the challenges that are ours in Rotary. Always keep us mindful of the needs of others and keep us attuned to our call in Rotary. And we ask these things in your holy name of your eternal truth. Amen. Amen.
Thank Denny. Are we ready for a secretary's report, Eric?
We might be. The the treasurer is reporting for the absent secretary who only got his notice to be via third party.
Yeah.
Now we have, let's see. 24 members and our speaker for 47.1%.
This week vacation. Must be sour.
Thank you for that. And at this time, I'd like to invite up Don. For what? Our Sergeant of Arms reports. If he doesn't have a report, then we won't have a report. Don can wait. We have
Yeah, I can put something together. Today is June 16th. It's the 167th day of the year. Hard to believe it's going by that quickly. Only got 198 days to go. We also celebrate some things today. Bloomsday. It's a commemoration of James Joyce, the writer James Joyce, because June 16th was the day that Ulysses took place, his book. In 1904, it's Fresh Veggies Day. International Day of Family Remittance. So if anybody in your family owes you money, today's the day they pay it back.
Yes.
National Flip Flop Day. National Pledge Day. No French Clothes Day. Take Back the Lunch Break Day. Ugliest Dog Day. And Wish Fulfillment Day. We also celebrate National Body Piercing Week. National Flag Week And by the way, if you missed the flag retirement ceremony on Wednesday in Green County, you missed a really moving experience. It was really good. Sheriff Gene Fisher started that about 8 years ago, and Scott Anger now has continued it on. So it's well worth it. I think they burned 3,400 flags. It was a good day. National Little League Baseball Week and National Men's Health Week. On this day in history, 1784, Holland forbid the wearing of orange clothes. I looked it up, I couldn't figure out why, but they forbid it. In 1858, Abraham Lincoln said those famous words, "A house divided against itself cannot stand." And the Wizard of Oz first opened in 1902. And in 1903, Pepsi Cola was formed. I thought it was older than that, but it's not. In 1933, the FDIC Corporation, or I guess it is part of the word, Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, was created. And in 1960, one of my favorite movies, Psycho, came out. In 1978, the film Grease opened with John Travolta and Olivia Newton-John. In 1984, Daytonian Edwin Moses won his 100th consecutive 400-meter hurdle race. That was amazing. I watched him run, and it was amazing to watch. And in 2015, Donald Trump launched his campaign for president. Seems like years ago. In the club, we have some birthdays. I haven't been here for a couple weeks, so we have Preet Siobhan on 10 June. Charles Curran on 1 June. How old? Shall I say? 84.
What young age?
This was on June 9. Brian Lampton is today, but he's not here. Michael Pino, June 1. Tom Moad, June 10th. And Dave Stewart, June 15th. Have some other anniversaries. Joanna Garcia, 1 year. Chris Hadley, 1 year. Seriously. Brandon Huff, 5 years. Walt Keisters, 9 years. Eric Marcus, 19 years. And there were some wedding anniversaries. In fact, there was one just yesterday. Charles and Maura Curran celebrated 60 years. JR and Teresa Garcia, 17 years. Dave Happy and Deborah, 54 years. Andrew Hunt and Krista, 23 years. Mark Weinstein and Lisa, 32 years. Wow. And Alex Zahara and Michelle, 28 years. I thought I'd bump some interesting facts that you may not know. Bolts of lightning can shoot out of an erupting volcano. And New York drifts about 1 inch further away from London each year. A US dollar bill can be folded approximately 4,000 times in the same place before it tears. And a sneeze travels at 100 miles an hour. So be careful, I got them. Yeah. And Earth has traveled more than 5,000 miles in the past 5 minutes. 10% of the world's population is left-handed. And I know this is true. A mole can dig a tunnel that is 300 feet long in only one night. Oh, wow. Banging your head against a wall burns 150 calories an hour. So you're looking for a form of exercise? There's probably a couple people in here who do stuff. And there are more collect calls on Father's Day than any other day of the year. Collect. How can you call collect? Yeah. I don't think call collect anymore.
Oh, maybe they're coming from prison.
Yes.
Right. Prison. And I always like to come back to some of these interesting laws that are still on the books. In Salt Lake County, Utah, it's illegal to walk down the street carrying a violin in a paper bag. In San Francisco, it's illegal to pile horse manure more than 6 feet high on a street corner. Based on what I've seen in San Francisco lately, that's not horse anymore. In Devon, Texas, it's against the law to make furniture while you're nude. In Bozeman, Montana, a law prohibits all sexual activity from the front yard of a home after sundown. In Florida, men seen publicly in any kind of strapless gown can be fined. In South Carolina, it's illegal to beat your wife on the courthouse steps on Sundays. The rest of the week, I guess it's fine. It's just fine. In Tennessee, you're breaking the law if you drive while sleeping. Pretty much think that's everywhere. And in New York, the penalty for jumping off a building is death. He's not here today, but in Danville, Pennsylvania, all fire hydrants must be checked 1 hour before all fires. This first one reminds me of Shannon. A woman saw an electrician walking up her driveway and rushed to the door. "Why did you come today?" she said. "You were supposed to repair the doorbell yesterday." He said, "I know. I rang the thing 3 times. There was no answer, so I figured there was nobody home." It was the lady that dropped her handbag in the bustle of holiday shopping, and an honest little boy noticed her drop the bag, so he picked it up and returned it to him. The lady looked into her handbag and commented, "That's funny. When I lost my bag, there was a $20 bill in it. Now there's $21 bills in it." The boy quickly replied, "That's right, lady. The last time I found it first, the owner didn't have any change for a reward." Teacher was testing these kids on something they'd done yesterday. She said, "What's the chemical formula for water?" HIJKLMNO. Teacher said, "What are you talking about?" "Well, you said yesterday it was H2O. Think about it.
Yeah, it did.
I was fishing this morning, but after a short time, I ran out of worms. Then I saw a cottonmouth with a frog in its mouth. Frogs are good bass bait. The big snake couldn't bite me with a frog in its mouth. I grabbed it right behind its head, took the frog, and put it in my bait bucket. Now the dilemma was how to release the snake without getting bit. So I grabbed my bottle of Jack Daniels and poured a little whiskey in its mouth. Its eyes rolled back and it went limp. I released the snake into the lake without incident and carried on fishing. Not long after, I felt a nudge at my foot. It was that darn snake with 2 more frogs. After 8 days of backpacking with my wife Linda, we were looking pretty scruffy. One morning she came to breakfast in a baseball cap, her shoulder length hair sticking out at all odd angles. "Terry," she said, does my hair make me look like a water buffalo?" I thought for a moment and then said, "If I tell you the truth, do you promise not to charge?" And I'm not really saying to get in shape, so I made plans to join a club and work out for 1 full year. The year we picked is 2033. Bob goes to see his friend Pete. He finds Pete in the barn dancing naked around his John Deere. "What are you doing?" asks Bob. Pete stops dancing and says, "My wife has been ignoring me lately, so I talked to my psychiatrist, and he said I needed to do something sexy to attract her." Oops, I didn't say they were all good. As always, I like to leave with a couple of positive thoughts. You're braver than you believe, stronger than you seem, smarter than you think. And the people who aren't crazy enough to think they can change the world are usually the ones that do. In today's fines, if you wore orange today, that's $1. If you watched The Wizard of Oz more than once, that's $1. If you watch Psycho in the theaters, that's $1. Of course, I only watched half of it because I couldn't like this. If you're left-handed, that's $1. And if you're not wearing your Rotary pin, that's $1. I'll give it back to Mike for Happy Bucks, but I want to give the first one, I want to give $5 because Mr. Phillips is back with us.
Yeah, thank you.
Ready, Glenn? Chuck, in honor of your birthday and National Body Piercing Day, we all voted that you should go get a body piercing.
Thank you so much.
That too. We bring back our big children.
Top of my list.
All right. Any happy bucks?
Yeah, I got one. Actually, I was gonna give one for Ed too. It's good to see it. I know everyone feels the same way. This morning they had a ribbon cutting at Emerge, and if you don't know what Emerge is, you really ought to find out. When the Greene County Career Center moved into their new facility on 35, they left a campus, which was the old Career Center in Xenia Township. Emerge was a concept of 3 contractors who all were addicts at one time and who all are Christian. And they came together and they said, we're gonna use this facility. They put their own money into it. That's the part I like. They put their own money into it, and it's a recovery center and a trade training center too. So from the perspective of our community, it helps with addiction, which is a big problem, and it helps provide trained labor for construction trades. So a phenomenal program. They just opened the men's center. They're going to have women's center down the road too. But I think this is going to be a model throughout the country. And it's right in our backyard. So if you get a chance to see it, they do tours. And they're always looking for more money for the next phases.
Thanks. Any other happy bucks? Nobody's happy. Eric, you'll come. Shannon, you go ahead.
I was gonna say, I don't know how this worked out, but ever since I was in Scouts, Father's Day weekend has always been summer camp, so no change again this year. Sunday, we get to leave for a week of fun and sun out at Old Camp First, so Jay gets to go with me.
Oh.
That's my happy buck.
Eric,
I'm happy about it, but after you said no, I kind of forgot what I did before. There's a happy about that all the setup went really well today for some reason. I think it's because Zoom Mike was running the meeting. Here's another $1 because I always get Beth that, help me with selling tickets and doing the other stuff we gotta do to get set up in the morning. Where's 2 more?
those are your fines. All right, any other?
Okay, here's $2 more because Ed is here, Ed Phillips is back. I only had $2 left, so. It means 40, that I'll now be able to collect the bill.
Any other happy bucks? No, ticket drawing. Got the ticket right here. It's 816780. 780. Must have been somebody that was this person. That's a each color ticket. Yeah, Dave.
77 first college.
I can tell you this suite of parts is not nearly as expensive as the one down at the bowling alley. That's $760,000. I got
Gee.
What did you say?
Yes.
Oh, gee, I'm sorry.
How many parts are left? There only can be about 3 parts left.
No, Barbaros.
All right, does the club have any announcements?
Our next Flags for Heroes event will be Independence Day at Beavercreek High School. We'll be installing the flags June the 29th at 4 o'clock, and then a week later, July the 6th, we will be removing them, and we'll have the ceremony at 5 o'clock on 4th of July.
Any announcements? Before we move forward, did we have any guests today? Anybody brought a guest? All right, I will introduce Mr. Hollenbeck. Actually, Ron did a presentation on it during my presidency over Zoom, and we appreciated it. Ron Hollenbeck is a native Delawarean. Is that what he said? I thought he'd stumble over that. And a graduate of the University of Delaware. He spent most of his working career in the pharmaceutical industry. Ron's focus was in the areas of operations, production planning, and supply chain logistics. He was a member of numerous project teams focused on re-engineering activities and implementing business enterprise software. Ron has been a BOD member of the Centerville Rotary for 10 years. What's BOD? Board of Directors. Board of Directors, okay. All right. Including his year as club president during the 16-17 Rotary year. He is in his 4th year as an assistant governor for District 6670. He is a Paul Harris Society member and a major donor. Ron also sits on the Board of Zoning Appeals for Washington Township. After job moves that took him from Delaware to California, Maryland, England, and Pennsylvania, Ron moved to Ohio so his wife Lori could be close to her family. They have 1 son and 2 granddaughters living in San Francisco. Without further ado, Ron Hollenbeck.
Never sure. Let me see if it needs, so what, tell me if it needs like something. Didn't ask to be anything, so try it. Yeah. Want me to advance it as you go? Sure. Okay. What is your fingers to post? Is that on? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thanks for inviting me here today. Appreciate it. But one of the last times I actually spoke in front of your group is what we were talking about.
Ron,
It's working. Oh, it's working.
Yes. Worked for me.
You just gotta stand next to it.
There's here we go.
Okay, we'll go. Well, again, thanks for having me here today. The last time I spoke in front of your group, there's actually about a water pump project that we were doing for Malawi. And I'll talk about a little bit about that later, but your club was very generous in actually pledging to that global grant. So the reason I'm here is that our district governor, Frank Scott, has asked if I could actually progress this role of a district international services chair. That they typically, Rotary typically wants to have someone in that position in the district, but we have not had anyone working in that full time as of yet. So the real purpose behind that is really to make clubs aware of potential international projects. And if they want to work on those, I can help facilitate their participation in those activities. So one of the first things that I did is I took a trip to Mexico back in November of last year. Let me just ask you a question. How many people here have heard of Rotary Heart to Heart? Don't feel bad. I hadn't heard about it either. The funniest reaction I got was at the Kettering Rotary Club when I said, "Has anybody heard of Heart to Heart?" And they all raised their hands because they thought it was like a heart transplant program. So I just had to say that it's a Rotary Heart to Heart program. And what I found out is, again, the awareness is just not there among people within the district. And I've had the opportunity to facilitate several breakout sessions at the PETS conference. And that's where you got president-elects from all over the state. It's just not our district. And I asked the question to them as well. Nobody's heard of it. So I'll give you an explanation why I think that is. So again, this is a trip I took back to Mexico and there we go. So just to give you a little bit of history on this is a collaborative effort between Rotary clubs in Mexico and Rotary clubs in the US. And you can see there's a number of people who can participate in this. But the objective is really providing humanitarian services to those in need in Mexico. And this got started almost 20 years ago. And it was a project between Mexico City and some district clubs in zones 30 and 31. So not to get too deep into the weeds about this, but we're in zone 30. The partnership with this program is with zone 30 and 31. And that's actually about 31 districts in 13 states. And that actually goes from the Canadian border on down to the Gulf of Mexico. So one of the first projects I started on was actually this water well project in a rural town in Mexico, outside of Mexico City. Has any of you been to Mexico City? Yeah. This is my first time there. Did they tell you what the population of Mexico City was?
Large.
Yeah, any guesses?
Second largest.
20 million. 90 million people. I mean, it's huge. But then what happened with this is this got expanded to another river district just north of Mexico City. It includes Guadalajara. And what they do with this, is they had one in the spring. Basically, they have a project fair early in the year. And then the people agree on which projects they want to do. And then they actually, that information is provided to all the districts in these two zones to see if they want to participate. So what they did, they've already identified 5 projects they want to, now these are global grants, projects they want to do for the upcoming Rotary year. Just to give you some perspective on what our district has done relative to Heart to Heart, typically they pledge about $15,000 a year. There's a number of global grants that they've helped fund. I'll talk a little bit more about this John German Cancer Center in Guadalajara. And these pledges that they got in this Rotary year, it's one for 10,000 for dry toilets in the indigenous area. And we also pledging $5,000 to another grant, district grant. One of the things that was really quite moving when we saw this, this is a signature project. It's a Holt's Beyond Transplant project. And those two names are really the two Rotarians, one in the US and one in Mexico, that were really the driving force behind this project. It's supported with a global grant about every other year. The one coming up in the next Rotary year is for about $200,000. Most of that money is going to come from district designated funds from the various districts, as well as any Rotary International matching fund. It's really focused on kidney transplants for high risk and economically challenged people. And there are partners down there with Rotary. They partner with a big foundation in Mexico called this Ayudar Foundation. And the reason they do this is that and it seems very foreign to us, but there's a big distinction in Mexico between insured and uninsured. If you don't have insurance, you can't participate in the National Register for an organ transplant. So that eliminates a lot of people, and that's really what this is trying to address, people that are in that boat. And one of the things that's interesting too, if you can't participate in that transplant registry, you have to go out and find a kidney. So this is imagine that if you have kidney disease and you have to go out and actually find a match for yourself. This is actually 2 of the recipients that did have kidney transplants. This was a father that had received a kidney. The one on the right, they're both brothers. And the one in the front, much smaller of the 2, he received the kidney from his brother. And it was quite emotional listening to this because the healthier brother said, I was just watching my brother die in front of me, slowly die in front of me. I had to do something. So. This is when I talk about the John Durham project in Guadalajara. This is a hospital. It's a hospital, but it's one of its main focuses is on pediatric cancer. So what they've done, they've actually helped fund the purchase of some of this state-of-the-art, very high-tech equipment for them to use. And this hospital in Guadalajara actually views himself as the as a St. Jude's Hospital of Mexico. I mean, it's a very well recognized. They have people that come from all over the world to train here and to teach here as well. But you can see this piece of equipment. You can see the Rotary logo up in the top. But what this has is they can take a patient's tissue and blood samples and get test results from that. So if they're treating a child that has cancer and they're not getting the result that they want, they can tweak the result and hopefully get a better result. So it's very high-tech, sophisticated equipment. Over on the right side, this is actually just a bench, a series of microscopes where people can review the same slide at the same time. It's a collaborative effort. So hopefully they can get a result that they can all agree upon. This is outside Guadalajara, and what you'll see is there's some common themes here. One of these is this is the school that was started. That's the daughter over there. Her parents actually started this, but this is an area where they have high drug trafficking, high child trafficking. So this is really just giving them a place to come during the day to get a safe place, get something to eat, get a little bit of education. So, and this is a common theme. This is outside of Mexico City. This is another area where there's a lot of child trafficking and drug trafficking. But again, they're trying to provide a school, a meal, a safe place to go during the day. So what you'll see over here, this is actually a computer lab, and these are very primitive by our standards. But this is a computer lab that they're trying to start. Over here on the right, this is actually a very basic chemistry lab that they're trying to start. And I don't know if you can see the slide, but the vessels they're using, that's a 20-ounce Coke bottle, and that's a 2-liter Coke bottle. So you can see it's very primitive by our standards, but again, we're just trying to get these kids a place to go. This is in Mexico City. This is where they treat children who have scoliosis. And what the Rotary's involvement in this is these what they refer to as corsets. These are things that once they do the operation, these are form fitted for the child, so they can actually keep their neck upright and they can walk and so on. They showed us what was kind of interesting was before they did the surgery, they did a 3D rendering of the child's spine, and it was just this gnarled, twisted mess. So they were able to straighten it out, and then these corsets, again, are form fitted for them to help them so they can actually walk. So this is where these are global grants that we're looking at. And what happens with these is that, just like you did with the water pump, you have to have $30,000 in place before Rotary will even entertain them getting involved with providing some matching funds. So most of those are actually funded through what I was talking about earlier, district designated funds. So these are much bigger in scope, much bigger in scale. But one of the things that they wanted to do, they thought would be a good idea, They just started this a couple of years ago. It's called 100 and 100 program. And it's just recognizing the 100th anniversary of one of the clubs in Mexico City. And what they're hoping to do is get a bunch of clubs in the US involved in supporting some of those projects in Mexico. And there's a list of opportunities depending on the club's interest and so on. But you can see these are much smaller in scale. So these are anywhere from $500,000 or $500 to $10,000. So if you recall, the difference is if you want to try to do something with a global grant, you've got to actually have $30,000 in pledges. And just to give you some perspective too about if you're trying to do a global grant, they don't happen very quickly. If you remember when I was talking to you about the water pumps, that's probably been a 3-year process to actually go get the funding, get a Rotary International, get the component of the pump made, manufactured, and installed. And it's been almost 3 years to get that done. And those pumps were actually installed in the first quarter of this year in Malawi. So again, thanks to your help and your pledge, there's probably now about 30 to 40,000 people living in that country that have access to a reliable source of clean drinking water. But again, it just takes much longer to get that done. This can happen very quickly. So what we're actually doing now, one of the things that I'm working with the guy that heads up this program, it's called this Volcanoes Community Education Project. And basically what they're trying to do is just renovate the school in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. They need help with their HVAC, they need help with building maintenance, and actually trying to get the kids some school supplies as well. So for example, this doesn't seem like much, but to get this building back up together for HVAC, the estimated cost is about $4,300. So you see these are much smaller in scale. The total project is just short of $11,000. And one of the things that, again, I keep asking context about this stuff because it just didn't seem right initially, but 85% of the students in this area are teenagers. And certainly it fits in with our empowerment of girls. But when you ask them, why are males so smallly represented in these schools? And the context that I got back was the father never went to school. He tells his son, if it's good enough for me, it's good enough for you. So he doesn't go to school. The mother may have gone to school for a year or two, but then later on, children come about, that kind of thing like that. They get pulled out of school. So that's why they're hoping to keep everybody in school. But a lot of times the fathers are putting up some of the biggest resistance as far as getting their child in school. So what I'd left with you is that if you want to participate in this, here's all the information. I know that there's certain clubs that have a foundation that they send money out of that. So what I got is all the information here. This Rotary Club of Santa Barbara is actually 501c3. So it can go from a foundation, anyone's foundation, to that foundation, got a tax ID, all that. So that's just, again, what I was trying to do is just whet people's appetites in the district about international projects of small scale or bigger scale. And if you're interested in it, I can help facilitate your participation in it. But this is just one program, Spark to Heart in Mexico. So does anybody have any questions?
Are all these projects under the umbrella Heart to Heart, or there's just one of them, Heart to Heart?
No, these are under Heart to Heart. So for example, the 5, where somebody had a project fair early in the year and they identified what we do. This is the 5 global projects that they're going to be working on and trying to support this year, of which one of them is a Hopes Beyond Kidney program, as well as the courses for the kids that have scoliosis.
But those are more what the district, with their district designated funds support. These are much smaller, and, I mean, you can, your clerk can make a pledge to a global grant, just like you did with the wood. And then when Rotary finally says, okay, we approve it, and we're gonna send some matching funds, they'll come back to all the clubs and make pledges and say, okay, you said you're gonna pledge X number of dollars, send us the X number of dollars. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, Robin. As is our custom here at the Beavercreek Rotary Club, we will be donating a book to the Beavercreek Library. In Ron's name, he's already signed it. It's called All Different Now. By E.B. Lewis. Next week, we've got Brian Lambton and Karen as our greeters. We've got Senator Bob Hackett that will be here. He'll be talking about changing of the guard. Please keep an eye on upcoming programs at beavercreekrotary.com and Facebook. Is there anything else for the good of the club? Ron, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Take care of yourself.
And we're done very early.
Guys, everybody have a good, we had 21 minutes. He played already at 21 minutes.
All over the 13 instead of 9, 1 of 10.